Well, the Raspberry Pi 5 has just been released to much fanfare and probably much scalping. And, well, in light of that, I know it's not the exact release date, so it doesn't really make much sense to do it now, but whatever. In light of that, I thought I'd show off something that I've had for a very long time. It is this. It's a very interesting device. This, indeed, is one of the very first ever Raspberry Pis ever made. I don't know if it's like a very low... I mean, I say it's one of the first ever made. I got this when Raspberry Pis were brand new. I don't know if I pre-ordered it. I genuinely can't remember. But, yeah, they were a brand new thing. It's got the 2011 release date on, and it is an original Raspberry Pi. This is, well, it's the first model. The Model B, which they released first and was the better of the two models in terms of power and usability. The Model A was more for embedded applications and things. And it has... I'm trying to remember the specs of the original Raspberry Pi now. 600 megahertz processor, maybe? One of the Snapdragon things. 256 megabytes of RAM, which is not a lot. They later made a revision to this model that was 512 megabytes, if I recall. So this is like an even more classic Raspberry Pi. I'm pretty sure that's the case anyway. I believe this is one of the older ones. I don't really know how to tell. But yes, if you're not familiar with the Raspberry Pi, this is a computer. It's very small, the size of... Do I have a suitable card to hand that isn't going to reveal too much PWI? Is this about the right size? Yeah, that's credit card size, just about. Yeah, there you go. This is a bare trading card. It's about the size of a credit card. And that was the whole shtick. Back in the day, again, not remembering much because, well, you can tell I've planned ahead. It's got cat fur in it. It was very, very cheap back in the day. Nowadays, they seem quite expensive to the Raspberry Pis. They're going for like 60 quid-ish. I'm sure they used to be about £20, maybe even £15. I'm sure that's how much I paid for that, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I got the whole shebang. I got the Pi, and I got a nice... No, I didn't actually. I just got the Pi on its own. I got it from Element 14. Got the free T-shirt with it, which I've still got somewhere. It just says Element 14 and it's got the Raspberry Pi logo. And it didn't come with anything. That's right. Yeah, it was just that. It was the box. I remember actually I couldn't use it for a while because I didn't have a suitable power adapter, so I had to get one of those separately. I think I got one of Amazon or something. And it was great. I used it for retro gaming simply because I didn't really know what else to do with it, and that's what everybody did with it. So you can tell it's an older model because it's got the composite video output, which is quite incredible. This was in case you wanted to connect it to a CRT. It also has HDMI on the other side and a full-size SD card slot. Later models had a micro SD slot. Side note, I never had a Raspberry Pi 2, but I've got a couple of Raspberry Pi 3s, which, yeah, they were like this but better. And they were still really cheap, to the extent that I managed to get a couple of them. I'm not sure where they all are now. There's one in the drawer somewhere. But yeah, this was quite revolutionary at its time. I won't wax lyrical about it because realistically I didn't do a great deal with mine, and it sat in a drawer for, well... I kind of used it for gaming here and there, but it turned out it wasn't really powerful enough to play much. You could get NES, SNES, and that era out of it. I don't think it was even capable of doing N64. There were certain Linux games that it could play. You know, it could probably do Armageddon and that sort of game, Frozen Bubble, those classics. And it could do a few arcade games as well. But I seem to recall it struggled with Street Fighter 2. Might have been just the particular OS version that I had. Maybe it was just out of date and didn't have the good quality emulation, because I used Emulation Station on this, and back when that was a thing, still is a thing, maybe. But yeah, I didn't really do much with mine, and when the Raspberry Pi 3 came out, well, I used it for games again, and then again didn't really do much with it. I did use it actually for a network-wide ad blocker known as a Pi-hole, which is a fantastic use case for a Raspberry Pi. If you have one knocking around, look it up, because it's almost necessary in today's terrible ad-laden internet, malware-laden internet, I should say. But anyway, the point is, this, you noticed it was in a case. It's got a sticker on it from a site called RetroGT.com. Not sure if they're still trading, but they had some pretty cool stuff. And yeah, this is the Raspberry Pi case. This comes from, and the thing is, Raspberry Pi cases are a massive market, but I don't think they've ever been quite as good as this. This is a solid case. It's plastic. It just clips together. You don't need to screw it in or anything, so it's fantastic. It's cheap. I think it was like a £5. And it's got all you need. It's you know, it doesn't really hold the Pi in place. It kind of rattles around inside. But the thing is, for hobbyist projects, you really don't need these really fancy cases that have like big threaded screws and stuff. Something like this will suffice. And there is an official Pi case, which is really nice and does the job. You have to screw it together, but whatever, that's fine. But the really nice thing about this, not only was it really cheap, but you could get an even cheaper budget version. Basically, you could pick your colour of case and get the colour of case that you wanted. You'll notice mine is green and black, because I went for the ultra budget option where you just got whatever colour they had knocking around. And it even said there might be some blending of colours because it was like the end of the line, so they might look a bit weird. I was kind of hoping for that, but, well, I got a green and black one. And it was amazingly cheap. And they're just, I don't know, I kind of wish this was still a thing, because it's just such a nice item, and it would be cool to have all my Pis in various different colours. Nowadays, Pi cases, unless you go for like the SNES style ones or whatever, they tend to be a bit drab. Anyway, this was from a site called modmypi.com, which I loved. A few years ago, they merged with the Pi Hut, which is still an excellent site, and it's got more than just a Raspberry Pi. But yeah, I just think it's a fascinating item, and apparently these are quite rare now. I remember there was a toot from the Raspberry Pi account on Mastodon that said something like, how long have you been using the Raspberry Pi for, around the time of the Pi 5's release. And there were people sharing their Pi 1s in the comments, and then there were a few people saying, but how much RAM's it got? Has it got 256? Apparently these things are quite rare now, and who's surprised? I think it only took them a few months to realise it's not enough RAM. But yeah, this is my very special, original, first generation Raspberry Pi. And that is my show and tell for today. I hope you have enjoyed it. And maybe one day I can actually find a use case for this. I really hope so, because it saddens me that it's just sat in a drawer. Anyway, I don't really know what one can do with such a low power machine. I'm sure I'll figure something out. Till then, it stays in the drawer. But anyway, I've talked longer than I expected. That's all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.